Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to cut through all the noise, look at the actual research, and, give you the essential knowledge fast. Today we are tackling, well, probably the heavyweight champion of sports supplements. It's got to be the most popular, right? But it's also maybe the most misunderstood, creatine. Yeah, when most people hear creatine, they probably picture like huge bodybuilders, maybe those old muscle magazines, or just that dusty corner in the gym. It's totally been typecast as this muscle builder thing, only for, serious lifters. But we've got a stack of actual science here, papers that show the benefits go way, way beyond just lifting weights. So our goal today is to get past all that gym bro lore and figure out, okay, is creatine actually helpful for someone who's, say, mostly sedentary, or maybe getting older, or even just someone looking for like a surprising mental boost?
Exactly. And we really have to start with the basics, the biology. Look, creatine isn't some weird chemical cooked up in a lab. It's a natural compound. Your body actually makes it every single day, mostly in your liver and kidneys, its main job. It's all about rapid energy management. It's absolutely vital for recycling ATP adenosine triphosphate. That's basically the energy currency for your cells. You need it for quick bursts.
Oh, quick bursts, okay.
Yeah, that ATP regeneration, it's really designed for those short, high-intensity actions, things lasting less than about 30 seconds. But here's the crucial part for you to understand. Your muscles and your brain. They depend on this creatine energy system constantly. So whether you're lifting your absolute max on a squat or maybe just focusing really hard on a tricky problem at work, your body's using that creatine reserve. It's fundamental energy.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's tackle the fear factor first. Because before anyone even thinks about taking this stuff, they've heard the bad stories. I bet everyone listening has heard myth number one. It's like the zombie myth that just won't die. Creatine damages your kidneys. What's the real story here? Is it just wrong?
It is persistent, isn't it? And it refuses to die.
Yeah.
Because there's this tiny, tiny kernel of, let's call it scientific half-truth that keeps it alive. Okay, so when you supplement with creatine, right, you naturally increase the levels of a waste product called creatinine. It shows up in your blood.
Ah, creatinine. I've heard of that from blood tests.
Exactly. And doctors use creatinine levels as one marker, one indicator, to check how well your kidneys are working. So if those levels are high, it can signal a problem. However, and this is the big however, the scientific data is just overwhelming on this point. That temporary bump in creatinine you see from taking creatine does not mean your kidney function is declining, not in healthy people anyway. You're basically just making a bit more waste product because you put more of the raw material in. The kidneys are handling it fine.
Gotcha. So it's like a false alarm triggered by misunderstanding a lab result in this specific context.
Precisely. For people with healthy kidneys, taking the recommended doses is, well, it's safe. We've got long-term studies too. Some followed people for up to 5 years, taking doses even as high as 30 grams a day, way more than needed, and found it safe and well tolerated. The only time you really need caution is if someone already has diagnosed kidney disease. Then, yeah, talk to your doctor first.
Okay, that's a huge relief and really clears up the biggest health worry. Let's move on to the vanity stuff, the appearance myths. Myth number 2. Creatine causes bloating, like visible water retention, makes you look puffy.
Ah, yes, the puffiness fear. This is another classic case of misunderstanding what's happening inside the body. Creatine does make your body retain water, that part's true, but critically, it pulls that water into the muscle cells. It's intramuscular water.
Inside the muscle.
Inside the muscle. And that's actually a good thing. It helps with performance, nutrient delivery, maybe even muscle growth signals. This is completely different from subcutaneous water retention. That's the water under the skin that gives you that soft, bloated look. We have research, even in guys who weren't lifting weights, showing no significant changes in total body water outside the muscle cells. So if you see the scale jump up quickly when you start, that's mostly beneficial water weight inside the muscle, not cosmetic bloating.
Okay, that distinction is super important. Water inside the engine, not just sloshing around under the hood, basically. But if it pulls water into the muscle, then why do we hear the opposite sometimes? Myth number 3. Creatine causes dehydration and muscle cramping. That sounds counterintuitive if it's holding water.
It does sound a bit weird, doesn't it? The research actually points in the complete opposite direction. It seems creatine users might actually be better protected against these issues.
Really? Less cramping.
Yeah. Studies comparing athletes, some using creatine, some not, found the creatine groups actually had significantly fewer instances of cramping and less heat illness or dehydration, and even fewer total injuries overall during training seasons. The thinking is that creatine might act as a sort of cellular hyperhydrator, especially if you're drinking enough fluids overall. It helps cells hold onto water, which is protective during hard exercise or in the heat.
Wow. Okay. So that myth is not just wrong, it's like the opposite of reality.
Pretty much, yeah,
Eh,
based on the evidence we have.
Okay, so we've busted kidney damage, bloating, and dehydration myths. Let's hit the last big one. The idea that it's somehow unnatural or cheating. Myth number 4. Creatine is a steroid or some kind of artificial performance enhancer.
Let's just be crystal clear on this. Creatine is basically a food component. Your body makes it naturally. You also get it from eating foods like red meat and fish. Taking a supplement just gives you more of it. It simply helps optimize your body's existing rapid energy system, that ATP cycle we talked about. It doesn't mess with hormones like steroids do. It's not a drug.
Yeah.
It's fuel, pure and simple.
Fuel, not a pharmaceutical. Got it. Okay, myths busted. Let's get practical now. Say someone listening is convinced they want to try it. They go to the store or online, and boom, there's like creatine, ethyl ester, buffered creatine, creatine HCl. It gets confusing fast. Is there one form that stands out, like a gold standard we should look for?
Oh, absolutely. There is a definitive gold standard, and it is creatine monohydrate, just plain simple creatine monohydrate, often shortened to CM. Why? Because it is, without exaggeration, probably the most studied nutritional supplement ever. We're talking over 700 scientific studies looking at its safety, how well it works, how your body absorbs it. It's consistently shown to be the most effective form, and usually it's the most cost-efficient too.
Right, the cost part is key because you see these newer, maybe fancier sounding versions like creatine hydrochloride or HCl. The marketing is strong. They often claim it's like easier on your stomach or absorbs better. Is there any truth to that? Enough to justify paying, what, sometimes 2 or 3 times more per dose?
Well, based purely on the scientific evidence we have right now, the answer is largely no. Creatine HCl is way, way less studied. Like, fewer than 10 human studies actually compare it directly to monohydrate. It's often marketed as a solution for gut issues, stomach upset that some people report with monohydrate.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But here's the thing. That GI distress from creatine monohydrate, it almost always happens when people take too much at once, specifically more than about 5 grams in a single serving. The reason HCl might feel easier on the stomach for some is likely because the manufacturers recommend a much smaller dose, usually around 1.5 grams per day. But if you just stick to that 5 grams or less per serving of the good old, much cheaper monohydrate, those GI issues are usually a non-issue for most people. We don't even know if HCl causes GI issues at higher doses because it hasn't really been studied that way.
Okay, that is a massive tip right there. Don't pay a premium to solve a problem that you can probably avoid just by dosing the standard stuff correctly. So, assuming we're going with the gold standard, creatine monohydrate, how do we actually, take it? If I start today, do I need to do that loading thing I hear about? How fast do I get the benefits?
Right, the dosing. You basically have 2 main ways to get your muscles fully saturated, and honestly, both work equally well in the long run. It's just about speed versus patience. The first way is one people talk about a lot. It's more aggressive. The loading method. With this, you take a higher amount, typically 20 to 25 grams total per day, but you split that up into 4 or 5 smaller doses of 5 grams each, spread throughout the day.
Okay, 20, 25 grams split up. For how long?
You do that for about 5 to 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
The result is you reach maximum muscle saturation really quickly, usually within a week.
And what's the second option? The slower way?
That's the non-loading method. It's much simpler. You just start taking the regular maintenance dose straight away, which is typically 3 to 5 grams per day, just once a day.
3 to 5 grams. That sounds easier.
It is easier, but it takes longer to max out your muscle stores. You're looking at about 28 days, so roughly 3 to 4 weeks, to reach the same level of saturation you'd get in a week with loading. But once you are saturated, whether you load it or not, you just stick to that maintenance dose. 3 to 5 grams a day keeps those levels topped up. Now, if you're a particularly large athlete, like very muscular, you might benefit from slightly more, maybe 5 to 10 grams a day for maintenance.
Okay, load fast or go slow. End result is the same saturation maintained with 3-5 grams daily. Makes sense. And is there anything you can do to, help it get into the muscles better, maximize the uptake?
Yeah, there is some evidence for that. Creatine uptake into the muscle cells seems to be enhanced when you take it alongside carbohydrates or protein. The reason is likely the insulin response triggered by carbs and protein. Insulin helps shuttle nutrients, including creatine, into muscle cells more effectively. So while the exact timing isn't super critical, you don't need to stress about taking it exactly 30 minutes post-workout, consuming it with a meal, or in a shake that has carbs and or protein is probably ideal for optimization.
Good tip. Take it with food or a shake. Simple enough. All right, one last piece of gym folklore we absolutely have to tackle, this stubborn idea that you need to cycle creatine. Take it for a while, then stop for a while, then start again. Tell us straight. Does the body actually need a break from creatine? Is cycling necessary?
Let me be absolutely clear on this, based on decades of research. The
Hmm.
scientific consensus is a resounding no. Creatine cycling is completely unnecessary. There's really no scientific evidence to support the practice.
None. So why do people do it?
It probably stems from older ideas about other supplements, maybe steroids, where cycling is necessary to avoid side effects or receptor downregulation. But creatine doesn't work that way. The entire point of taking creatine is to maintain those elevated muscle stores consistently. Taking breaks or cycling just causes your levels to drop back down, potentially reducing the benefits you're seeking. And importantly, continuous long-term supplementation does not seem to harm your body's own natural ability to make creatine. Your internal production just adjusts slightly and comes back to normal if you stop taking it. So consistency is key. No need to cycle.
Okay, huge. No cycling needed. Keep it simple, take it consistently. Now, we've really hammered home creatine as energy for the muscles. But you mentioned earlier, the brain uses it too, and the brain is incredibly energy hungry, right? Consumes something like 20% of our daily calories. Does that same ATP boosting benefit we see in muscles actually translate to like cognitive gains? What happens when creatine gets into the brain? This is the part I find really fascinating.
It really is fascinating. And yes, the fundamental principle is the same. Your brain cells, your neurons, need vast amounts of ATP for firing, for communication, especially when you're thinking hard or under stress. Supplementing with creatine can indeed increase the levels of creatine stored in your brain, though maybe not as dramatically as in muscle. Studies suggest increases in the range of 5 to 15%.
Still, 5 to 15% more energy reserve in the brain sounds pretty significant.
It can be. That extra energy reserve seems to act like a buffer, helping the brain resist mental fatigue and maintain function under demanding conditions. And when we look at the research, specifically meta-analyses that pool data from multiple studies on cognition, the findings are, well, pretty compelling in certain areas. The research consistently shows a statistically significant positive effect on memory function, especially tasks that involve recalling information quickly or recognition memory. So yeah, it seems to be a genuine aid for certain aspects of memory.
Memory. Okay, that's big. But what really jumped out at me from the research notes was the stuff about speed. The findings mentioned significant improvements in attention time and also information processing speed time. Like it actually made people mentally quicker.
That's a really key nuance, exactly. While maybe the overall scores for, say, general intelligence or broad executive function didn't always show a huge, consistent jump across every single study. The speed at which the brain could process information and complete demanding mental tasks, that was demonstrably faster in several analyses. It essentially reduced the time needed to do hard mental work. Think faster processing.
Wow. So less mental drag, faster thinking. Where does this really make a difference? Like, under what specific situations do these brain benefits shine the brightest?
The benefits appear most pronounced when the brain is under some kind of stress or challenge. Think energy-depleting situations. Prime examples from the research are conditions like sleep deprivation. Creatine seems to help people maintain cognitive performance and fight off mental fatigue when they haven't had enough sleep.
Okay, that's relevant for basically everyone at some point.
Right. Or situations involving hypoxia, which is low oxygen, maybe high altitude, or certain medical conditions. Creatine helps buffer the brain's energy supply. So, yeah, for anyone dealing with long work hours, shift work, intense study periods, jet lag, this cognitive resilience factor could be really valuable. And digging into the details, some subgroup analyses hinted at interesting specifics. The attention time benefits seemed strongest in the 18 to 60 age group. And one analysis found something quite specific. The improvement in processing speed time was statistically significant for female participants, but actually not for the male participants in that particular analysis.
Oh, interesting. Sex-specific effects.
Potentially, yeah. It definitely suggests we need more research looking into possible differences in how men and women respond cognitively.
So beyond just making our brains work better or faster under stress, does it offer any like protective benefits for the brain itself?
It seems like it might, yes. There's a growing body of research looking at neuroprotective effects, especially around head injuries. Studies, initially in animal models, but also some preliminary human work, suggest that having higher brain creatine levels might help lessen the damage from traumatic brain injury, TBI, and concussion. Pre-treating animals with creatine reduced the extent of brain damage after injury. And in humans with TBI, supplementation has been linked to reduced markers of cell damage and improved recovery outcomes, like fewer headaches or less dizziness and fatigue.
That's incredible potential, especially with concerns around concussions in sports and daily life.
Absolutely. And the clinical potential might extend further. It's being explored for helping maintain muscle mass and strength in aging populations, fighting sarcopenia. And there's interest in its role supporting energy metabolism in certain neurodegenerative diseases like muscular dystrophy or Huntington's. Though it's fair to say large trials for conditions like ALS or Parkinson's have shown more mixed results so far. It's not a cure-all, but a potential support.
Okay, let's try and wrap this all up. Time for the key takeaways from this deep dive for you, the listener. Takeaway number one. Creatine is incredibly safe. It's one of the most researched supplements out there, with strong long-term safety data for healthy folks. Forget the kidney myths.
Takeaway 2. Keep it simple. Creatine monohydrate is your best bet, effective, affordable, and backed by science. Skip the fancy, expensive variations, and definitely forget about cycling. Just take your 3-5 grams daily, consistently.
And takeaway number three, maybe the most surprising one. The benefits go way beyond muscle. Creatine is fundamental brain fuel too. The research points to real, measurable improvements in memory, attention speed, and crucially, resilience against mental fatigue from stress or lack of sleep. It helps your brain perform, just like it helps your muscles.
Exactly. At its core, creatine is just an energy molecule. It supports those high-energy systems wherever they're needed most, whether that's in your biceps or between your ears.
So given everything we've discussed, the established long-term safety of continuous low-dose creatine, the proven benefits for memory, for processing speed, for resilience under mental stress, here's our final thought for you to chew on. Should healthy aging adults perhaps consider adopting a daily maintenance dose of creatine, maybe 35 grams, not necessarily aiming for big muscle gains, but purely as a proactive long-term strategy, a strategy for shoring up cognitive resilience and maybe pushing back against that natural age-related slowdown in processing speed, something to think about.